So, gluttony is a sin. That's difficult to understand because a lot of people just think you can do you can eat food and yeah, it's not very good for you, right? Okay, whatever. It's not good for you. Maybe you're going to get a little bit out of shape, this bad stuff, but I'll get around to stop eating bad food. I'll get around to it, whatever. But it is a sin. Okay, and this is not something a lot of people think about. But gluttony is a sin. It is 100% sin. It is bad for you. And it seems like it's not that big of a deal. But in reality, if you commit gluttony, it will slowly ruin your life because it is a sin. Sin is something that separates you from God. And that's exactly what gluttony does. Because it does, first of all, the first thing it does to you is it's going to take away your self discipline. Okay, so this is how I'm going to show exactly what gluttony does. Everyone knows it makes you fat. Okay, whatever. But it takes away your self discipline. That's why it's one of the seven deadliest sins. When you take away your self discipline, you threaten expanding the problem. So if you take away your self discipline, sooner or later, other things that before you could have resisted, you're not going to be able to resist, like sexual immorality, like laziness. Okay. These problems are going to affect you now because you lost your self discipline, because you couldn't hold back from eating that unhealthy food. This is a very serious problem. In addition to that first problem, the second problem it's going to be is it's going to neutralize your capability to fast. That's terrible, right? Fasting is very important as Christians. If we want to become dedicated Christians, we're going to need to start fasting. You can't fast when your stomach has expanded that much, right? So that's a very serious problem as well. In addition to that, as time goes on, what does it do? It's going to make you unable to do things, right? You're not going to be able to take long walks. You're not going to be able to run and exercise very much. You're not going to be able to do things. You're not going to be able to do chores anymore. You won't be able to take stuff out of the washing machine and put it in the dryer because that takes physical effort. And that's not something you're going to have when you're that out of shape. Gluttony just keeps continually getting worse. But nobody realizes it's such a terrible sin because it does not initially appear as sin. It slowly affects you. Over time, you eventually begin to realize, wait, this is doing all the stuff to me. I just thought, well, if I had the sugar cookie, whatever, a little bit later, all these negative effects start coming into your life and they start messing up your life. But you do not realize. That's why gluttony is such a terrible sin because it is a sin, but it comes into your life appearing as it's totally fine and it won't really hurt you, right? Not when you start eating unhealthy food, it comes into your life as this idea that you're just going to eat unhealthy food and it tastes good. But obviously, over time, it slowly starts to make you out of shape. It slowly corrodes your self discipline. It slowly makes you less and less effective at fasting. It slowly makes you less and less able to do things. And eventually, it comes to the point where people are going to start making fun of you. They're just going to start going, no, 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 fat man, and it's going to be really annoying because nobody wants to be fat, but people are fat. And now you're going to make fun of it for it, and you don't even know how to get rid of the problem because you don't have the mental capacity to fight the sin that you were slowly digging yourself in a hole and you didn't even really know it. Obviously, you knew that if you didn't get a diet, you'd get out of shape, but this sin has taken away so many things, and you will not realize it until all this time has passed, and now you're stuck in the hole. So now we're going to talk about how are you going to fix this? Because it's a very serious problem. This has to be fixed. And how can you prevent it? Because obviously, we all want self discipline. We all want the ability, well, we should all want the ability to fast. We all want to be able to do things in our life. And we all want to be able to have mental self discipline. We want to be able to do all these things. So let's get started. So you've lost self-discipline and self-control. You've lost the ability to fast. You've lost the ability to do things. You've lost self-respect for yourself. And now people are going to start making fun of you because you're out of shape and you weren't doing your diet. So you're going to lose self-discipline, self-control. You're going to lose the ability to fast, the ability to do day-to-day things, the ability to do exercises and things. You're going to lose the ability to eat in moderation altogether. And you're also going to eventually become not happy with yourself because you're not going to be the body type that you want. And now, obviously, in modern culture, throughout society, really, it's been a thing where it's okay to be fat. It's okay to not do a diet. Well, see, this is our society. Okay, it's okay to have no self-discipline, to eat a ridiculous amount of food and to eat bad food, but it's totally unacceptable. We're going to make fun of you if you do that, and then the effects of that is going to be you're going to be fat. We're going to make fun of you now. See, so those they play hand in hand, right? Eat too much food, eat sugary food, get fat, right? Get fat, and then everybody makes fun of you. It's that's what happens, right? So part of being a Christian is self-control and self-moderation. That includes that includes eating in moderation. That includes not doing gluttony. Gluttony is a sin, and it will affect you in all of those things given enough time. So really, all of that stuff's terrible, right? So what can you do to prevent that? Well, obviously, if you want to figure out how to get healthy, you can look that up on the internet. They are everywhere. Do this, do that, do this diet, do that, Mediterranean diet, vegetarian diet, vegan diet, fake meat diet, whatever, right? That's all over the place. But the problem is, very few of these diets, I know you can get on the grind, but what are you going to do to resist the temptation of all that food? Because it's ridiculous. You walk into a restaurant, they got all this sugary food. They probably got it out looking at you like, buy these donuts. Look, they're right here, right here. You go over to get a drink and you're going to get some unsweet tea. There's sweet tea. There's root beer. There's this, that, and the other thing. Everywhere you go, it's gonna be getting you, right? But as Christians, we have a little bit more of an advantage than other people trying to get in shape and be healthy, because we know that eating too much of that sugar is a sin. So we know just to avoid it, right? You have to realize that sugary food is terrible for you. There's really no use for it. So literally cutting that out of your diet completely, can you do that? Pretty close to. I mean, think about it. If you're drinking soda, right? People have cut soda out of their diet. You could be drinking water or unsweet tea, right? You could be drinking one of those things. So it is possible to remove extremely sugary stuff out of your diet. So does that mean you can never have sugar? Well, no, you can have some, but it needs to be with self-control, limitedly, right? If you're having trouble controlling how much sugar you're having, it's better to have no sugar than a lot of sugar. So self-control is difficult, but it's doable. I don't know. It's easy to create a diet, right? You can do that. You can look that up on the internet. It's all over the place. You can go get a personal trainer, whatever. But you got to realize what that stuff is, right? You should not be eating. There's a long list of things you shouldn't be eating, right? So look at those things, and then remember, if I eat that, all that super long list of effects are going to come into play, right? So it's very easy to stop it before you're a glutton. It's very easy while you're at least moderately in shape to stop eating that stuff or to limit your amount of stuff that you eat. But once you get into the hole of gluttony, it gets a lot more difficult to get out of. Obviously, a lot of people are in this problem here. Now, it's the same thing, right? You need to get a diet. You need to take walks and things, right? And you need to begin to resist that temptation. But it's really difficult once you're in the hole, because the more of that food you eat, the more your stomach expands. So the more hungry you're actually going to be hungry now when you want sugary stuff. So it becomes a lot more difficult to get out of. But it is possible. It just takes a lot of self-discipline. But it's been eating away and corroding your self-discipline, this gluttony. So getting away from gluttony will require you to gain some self-discipline. So look at it like this. If I continue doing what I'm doing, it is a sin that is going to separate me from God in many ways and lead me to other sins. It's taken so many things out of my life, right? This gluttony has taken so many things out of my life, so many godly aspects of my life, and it's made me so inefficient that I cannot do a lot of things that I normally could do. If that's running down the block or literally doing basic chores from day to day, that's not okay. That's a problem. That needs to be stopped, and it is a sin to continue doing gluttony. And that's how you got to look at it. And then obviously, right, the solution is stop eating bad foods, start eating good foods, start eating in moderation, eat in moderation. And obviously exercise, right? It doesn't take a lot. I have an 80-year-old grandpa who walks around the block, and I have watched him. He didn't struggle to get over a brick thing about this tall on the ground. No, he almost leaped over it. He almost hopped over it. And he's in his mid 80s. And I watched him almost jump over a obstacle. Like a lot of 50-year-olds can't do that. So you got to look at it like that, right? Do you want to live to 80? Well, if you do, and if you want to actually be able to do things when you're 80, you're going to have to eat in moderation and exercise. Now, you don't have to be, a Navy SEAL, you don't have to be able to run a marathon. But as we can see, if you're walking, if you're exercising reasonably, and if you're eating healthily, you could be in your mid 80s hopping over things and walking and telling your grandkids that back in my day, I was able to run super far and do all this cool stuff because I didn't have gluttony. So gluttony is a very serious problem, and it's only become more difficult with access to fast food and the cheap fast food. So resistance is not futile. Okay, we're resisting the Borg here. Resistance is not futile. You can do it, but it takes self-discipline. Self-discipline is something you have to find here and here. Okay, self-discipline requires you to stand up and say, I'm not going to do this anymore. You have the reasons why you don't want to do it. You have the reasons why you want to resist the sin. You have reasons why you don't want to do the sin anymore. So now the question at hand is, do you have what it takes to resist the sin? If you don't, you can ask God to give you what it takes, because 100% of resisting sin, 100% of whatever you're trying to do starts here and here. Nowhere else. Yes, if you want to go be a Navy SEAL and be able to do 1,000 push-ups, where does that start? It starts here and here. You could be the most efficient, you could be the fastest, you could be the person with the most stamina ever to live, the most high stamina man ever to live. But if there's a man who has mental dedication and you have none, you're going to kind of just give up. And that person with mental dedication, even though they can never run nearly as far as you can, will outrun you and beat you in the race because they had started here and here. So you're never going to succeed if you don't have, yes, motivation, but more importantly, here and here. Okay, if you're not mentally in the right place, okay, and if you don't have a godly reason for doing it, then it's pretty much useless. It's not going to get you anywhere. So if you want to get past a sin and to move forward with your life, you're going to need to not only be living a godly lifestyle, but have that mental mindset. So whatever it is, whatever your sin you're resisting or whatever you're trying to achieve in life, it requires that you're mentally in the mindset that you're willing to do whatever it takes to get that job done, and that you have faith that the Lord will guide you. Without those two things, you're not going to be nearly as efficient. But if you have those two things, you're going to be 20 steps ahead of anyone else trying to do what you're doing. If you're trying to resist gluttony or any other sin or get anywhere in life, if you have those two things, a mindset and faith, you can do it. Period.